Welcome back to Shining From Within, the podcast where we explore the infinite amount of power and potential that lies within each and every one of us. I am your host with the most, Genevieve, and on today's episode, we have a very special guest who's going to enlighten us on the topic of human thresholds. And the first topic, or the first part, is going to be a 4-part series. This first part is going to be about the threshold of strength. Today's guest is very, very special, very, very extraordinary, and I feel you're going to get to know him through everything, like through the 4-part series that we're going to have. His name is Martin Chanda, and without further ado, I'll let him get into this episode so that we get enlightened and enriched with knowledge.
Hello, listeners. The threshold of strength. What is strength? It can be defined differently, maybe in accordance to certain contextual paradigms. The definition might vary from individual to individual, but obviously strength comes from the word strong, and strong symbolizes something of dominance, something that is able to withstand what might come against it, or might be able to conquer that which is ahead of it. I will focus on how strength is gained. I remember a certain quote which said that you don't know how strong you are until being strong becomes the only choice that you have. You see, sometimes life puts us in certain situations, painful mostly, and whilst we're going through that, we may not know how to survive. But isn't it true of our lives that most of the strength that we've gained, most of the knowledge that we've gained that protects us, came from hazardous situations that made us miserable, that put us in a pinhole, so to speak, that frightened us, that made us realize that we were weak after all. Many people I have heard, especially successful people, talk about situations that talk about historical events in their lives that affected them. And it's almost impossible to believe them, because when you see them at the heights of glory and they tell you to say behind this glory there's a story, and you think, oh, this story must be very exciting, but the story is actually very, very dark and bleak, and not something that you would admire. You see, and that situation perhaps left them with only one choice, a choice to be strong. And fortunately, they didn't become suicidal, they didn't do anything rash. They forged ahead, and because of that situation, they became stronger. I remember another quote which said, that which doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. It is true indeed. There are certain situations whereby you might have thought you would have died, or that was the end of your life, but you soldiered on, and you're here listening to this podcast. And if you look back, you will realize that your life actually changed tremendously because of that situation that might have been hard, that might have felt impossible to get through, that might have felt terrible, or it felt like it was just one big wave of calamity coming against you, and yet you survived. But it made you stronger. You are better because of it. People may have talked about you behind your back. People might have laughed. You might have been embarrassed. You might have felt miserable. You might have had no hope. You might have become depressed. You might have not seen the light. You might have gone through things that civilization hasn't even invented the names for. But here you are, you're listening, you're standing tall, and you're strong. I tell you, strength sometimes, the truest strength, is born from places unexpected, places that you wouldn't have wanted to be, things that you wouldn't have wanted to experience, which obviously in the negative, but you experienced regardless. Sometimes it leaves you with scars, but those scars, when they heal, become your strength. And when you look at your scars, you may choose to see wounds, or you may choose to see healing and say, I healed, I am stronger, I am better. Strength isn't always born from good times, no.
Just on that one, sorry to interrupt. You were in so deep. Just on scars, I think I remember watching a video a couple of years ago. It should be a video embedded in, should be Chinese culture or Japanese. Might be confusing the two, but it went like like with China, fine China, like the mugs and stuff. Whenever they break, they normally fill them up with gold. Yes, the cracks are filled up with gold, and opposed to looking at this China as once as broken, you can choose to look at it from a different perspective. It's put together with the scars and the cracks, and it makes it even more beautiful. It's like it has withstood certain calamities, and it's still here, to tell its story, to tell a different story. And I think there's a lot of beauty behind scars, and part of strength is also embracing our scars and holding them up as a badge of honor and endurance.
That's actually true. That's what happens in China. They fill the cracks with gold. Maybe a vase broke down and they put the pieces back together, and the feeling is gold. I wanted to say China must have a lot of gold.
I know. Should we investigate this?
But you find that by placing the gold there, the item actually becomes more valuable than it was before.
Exactly.
And I think for us human beings, it shows you actually become stronger than you were before. I often hear about these guys welders. When they weld a certain part of metal, if welded properly, that part can never be cut, or can never, if it was something that maybe a part of a metal longer piece that was breaking, the part which is welded can never be broken, because the welding makes it stronger, so much stronger. And I think even for the listeners, an appeal is for them to embrace hard times, hard situations. Hard situations can be as much as you have money and you're trying to decide whether you should buy gas or you should buy medicine. Sometimes it's rough out there. And yes, and you're left to make very hard decisions, and you don't like that situation, but there you are. But strength comes from that. You get through it. Just show up, get through it. Every single day, you'll be fine. You'll be alright. I think that's something I can tell the listeners. I think this gold, filling in gold cracks in broken pieces thing is something that I think I can't even add as much to it. It's a golden standard. I encourage the listeners